Hi everyone and welcome to another Oracle Guidance. In this channeled reading, I open myself to the divine wisdom, the divine intelligence, and invite it to offer all of us some spiritual guidance, maybe regarding our spiritual path, our journey, or something that we might be a little bit struggling with our lives in the present moment. So just take what resonates and discard the rest. Now the first message is the Four of Cups and the Tower reversed. Now this represents a very powerful dichotomy which is confusing you a little bit and making you feel in a specific way where you're both feeling really blessed and favored by the universe. This is where you can actually almost palpably feel, see, experience the benevolence of the universe, but at the same time, there's also a very powerful spiritual stagnation which you can't seem to understand why, how, where all of this is leading you. So basically, the Four of Cups, it is a very positive, very uplifting card because it represents divine guidance, it represents epiphany, it represents a very powerful activity of your soul where you get messages, where you get guidance, where you are so very in tune with the source, with the divine, with nature, with everything. So basically, you're very, very active from a spiritual perspective. And for some people, this is even more than that because they can almost see miracles playing out in their lives. Just that those miracles are nothing palpable, so it's not really helping their, how should I even say, their human situations, the human being that they are in life. But the soul that they are, now that is a totally different story because very, very many things are happening from a spiritual perspective. For example, for some people, this Four of Cups actually goes back to the past, where maybe like 4 years ago or starting from the year 2016, you received very intense, very powerful, very almost prophetic dreams, visions, intuition, for example, of what's about to happen in the world. Some people symbolically saw this present moment turmoil, the coronavirus situation, etc. Or where for other people it was very personal guidance, very personal messages, as I say, prophetic messages. And of course, all of what they received, all of what they, experienced, deciphered, or saw in their dreams kept happening and, coming together. It was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where so very many things happened, where so very many, for example, divine prophecies, divine promises were fulfilled. So, they cannot fault this in any way. Whatever the divine downloaded in their souls or in their minds, in their higher selves, higher cerebral activities came to happen. So basically that is a living proof that a mysterious divine force was at work in your life, but it didn't really change your situation, the big picture of your life that much. The only thing that, you could say that you benefited from is that basically the divine guidance, your intuition, or your extrasensorially perceptions, well, they worked 100%. Whatever was you picked up on, or whatever you perceived as a prophecy, well, it came to happen. So this part is basically relevant enough to dispel so very many doubts about you, about your gifts, about your journey, about if you're worthy or not, if you can actually work with the spirit or not. But there is that Tower reversed, and this represents that you really, really sacrificed, worked very hard for your spiritual journey. You try to embody your wisest and most receptive self. you really tried to follow up all of the divine guidance that you personally received. Whenever the universe showed you something, either through synchronicity, through dreams, through divine downloads, you really took that seriously. You really, acted on it. You took action. You took it deeply into consideration. And of course it helped you. Of course it actually made you grow. It made you that much stronger, that much more gentle, forgiving, understanding. So, this Four of Cups, it actually done miracles in your life. And if you can see the symbolism, the images depicted on these two cards, well, the Four of Cups depicts the mountain, where the tower is you climbing that mountain. So it is basically divine guidance which led you to climb that very, very dangerous and very hard to climb mountain, and you almost reached the top, but in the present moment you may feel like it's reversed, as in you're imminently starting to fall or your progress is blocked. The divine guidance that you receive is no longer that much relevant because it is just telling you to be patient. It is just telling you that the storm, the big karmic storm, is brewing and you need to wait it out. So it doesn't really favor your situation. Yes, your tower hasn't crumbled, you haven't fallen yet, but you're starting to lose your balance, you're starting to lose your equilibrium, and if you climb that mountain and you got almost to the top, well, naturally your oxygen levels are running out and you cannot stay in one place. You have to either keep on moving, or you almost reach the moment when even falling is a better option than just staying in one place. And of course you want to be patient, of course you want to embody all your virtues, of course you want to show the divine how seriously you take its advice, its presence in your life. And this is actually the true dichotomy, because it is present, the guidance, the downloads, you being able to feel and see and experience the divine in everything, everywhere you go, in nature, even in your home, even in your dreams, in everyday life. It is there, it is not missing, and yet your progress is not happening. You don't know where to go, you don't know if you have to climb further, even if climbing further up the mountain in this present moment is extremely dangerous because it is slippery. You don't have anything that you need to get to the top, even if the top is just 2 steps away. And ultimately, you don't even know what awaits you at the top, and the universe is not showing you what is there at the top. If it's an empty place, if it's filled with other people, if something awaits you there, or if it's just something you had to do for yourself, to prove to yourself your own strength, your own ambition, your own patience. And I think the biggest lesson in all of this is just how gentle you are, because maybe you have always perceived yourself as a rebel, as a your way or a highway, as an overly ambitious person, and chances are that that is actually not who you are whatsoever. Maybe a parent of yours or a toxic person who you never saw as toxic in your life try to always influence you and depict that you are over ambitious, that you hold your principles and life you way too rigidly. Whatever is sacred to you is not really sacred, it's only sacred in your mind. So that was a very, very negative and toxic influence that you really had to overcome. You had to just purge out of your system, that where the truth of your situation, the truth of your life and your soul is quite the contrary. That you were very gentle, you were very cooperative, you were actually always very versatile, you never actually insisted to have your way, only when you had a big imminent need in your life which you couldn't solve in any other way. And of course, since you're a child of the universe, well, what do? You ask for help and you specify, you depict your situation to the universe, to the divine mind, so that it can understand you, so that it can perceive you as you perceive yourself. And that always opens a channel, a meeting point between your perceptions and that of the universe, where you can just balance each other out. You can understand the divine perspective, and the divine can understand your human perspective. So it is always wonderful, it is always the right thing to do. So that's why climbing that mountain was so very hard for you, because you had a lot of negative influence already inside of you, maybe stemming from your childhood, maybe stemming from a relationship, or maybe it's just you got lost once in your way and you started turning to the internet for guidance and spirituality. And of course, it didn't end up in a very positive way, because you were intoxicated by the ego of that guru, by the twisted perceptions of a specific person. Because inner truth is perfectly valid for that person, but that doesn't mean that it's perfectly valid for you. And when other spiritualists give examples through their own story, well, you can already know that you should stop there and then and run as far away as you can, because that is not authentic spirituality. A true spiritualist knows that their own situation is never gonna match that of another soul's. And of course, there is some time and space when your own example is more than enough and more than relevant. But there are some people who do this all the time and apply their own experiences to absolutely everything without empathically opening up to the person first and see that it matches. And of course, that's aggressive spirituality, and you should stay far away from that. So what I'm trying to say here is that there is a very good reason why climbing that mountain was very hard, and it took a lot of energy and sacrifice, and you had so very moments of doubt. You had so very moments when you almost slipped and fell to your spiritual death, basically. And maybe some people even fell and had to rise up once again and start from scratch. But basically, the advice of the universe is, well, you don't know the full extent of the mystery and the mysterious ways of the divine. Consider that maybe you actually done everything the right way. Maybe even your smallest decisions were the right ones. Maybe through all the actions and everything that you put out there in the past 4 years, you pleased the divine in a way that is totally beyond your imagination, your expectation or whatever. And maybe the divine stopped you in your tracks, that it wants to facilitate you in a way that it would do it for no other soul in your situation, because you overperformed. You actually delighted the universe through every gesture of yours, even when you were suffering. Maybe you caused such a strong reaction coming from the divine heart that maybe it's stopping you so it can send an eagle to just fly you up the top effortlessly. But that eagle has to find you, so maybe this waiting game that you're playing is not negative. It is not what you think it is. It is not more obstacles, more sacrifice, more whatever you may think that it is. Maybe it's just a little rest where the universe knows that that eagle is coming and helping you back on top of the mountain. So basically the guidance for you guys is very, very simple. Well, you're not really afraid to fall off the mountain, even though you're in a very delicate and maybe tight situation where the fall is imminent. But since you have absolutely no fear in your heart, and you are not even that worried about the fall itself, but rather the progress, well, your inner voice should be very significant right now. Because if there's no fear in your heart, if you're not really worried about doom and gloom, but rather you're trying to actually help the universe help you, well then you're already in a very, very good position. And if that Four of Cups is very much alive in your life, that the divine is everywhere, it envelops you, it surrounds you, well, you shouldn't really worry. Just as, heroes, or better said, prophets or saints from ancient times were absolutely not worried when they were in a situation where their death was certain, because they were so very confident that divine is there for them, that either way their story would have played out, it would have been absolutely perfect for them. And you're actually in that situation because you raise your frequencies to a almost divine level. So basically, the only reason when you're feeling that you're falling is that you're actually living still in society, that you embrace a human life which is not your choice, because maybe you would run off to Tibet or in any other sacred place if that would be an option in your life. But since it's not, you have to collaborate and just accept what you have in your life. And if it's in your destiny to live in human society in a very modern way, well then that is what you have to do and adapt yourself to. And that is not your fault, that you cannot leave that behind. So basically just embrace the miracle, just embrace the divine presence in your life, because it has every single intent to help you. So don't worry about falling off from the mountain, from the tower. It is not doom and gloom. It is actually just conjuring up a miracle. The next message is the Eight of Swords clarified by the Four of Swords. Now this particular message speaks to two different people. Now to some people, this Eight of Swords represents very powerful anxiety that is just building up inside of them, inside their minds, and sending their thoughts and even feelings into a big chaos, and it's affecting already their mental health, it's affecting their digestive system. So basically they are in a very uncomfortable situation because this chaos comes from within and they don't know how to, cope with it, manage it, process it. And the mysterious part is that they haven't actually done anything in the very recent past to trigger it. They weren't really overthinking. They actually did all the good and right things to keep their mental health in balance. They might have meditated or done a lot of physical activities, which of course has a very, very beneficial and positive effect on the mind because it disconnects it. It allows it to, defragment itself, so to speak. And even when problems and obstacles and, everyday matters that really challenge the mind, worries, fears, etc., especially people who surround them, friends, family, co-workers, all of those small problems and inconveniences, and people do like to complain, and people do like to project their problems onto anyone they can. So even though you had all of this in your life, you actually coped very well. You applied coping mechanisms, tactics, maybe you listened to guided meditations, or maybe you just learned to relax and detach. And that's why you don't really understand why this anxiety is so very strong right now. And this is where the universe, through that Four of Swords, tells you that this is just a preparation. It is nothing that you should actually worry you that much, because this is a good sign. Because chances are that in 4 weeks, some very important decision that, in the sense that you will have to make a decision that is going to impact your future, that opportunity or that situation is going to enter your life in 4 weeks, as in a month. So this is basically like an internal mechanism of your mind to declutter yourself, to agitate basically everything that is in your mental sphere, so that by the time you get to that decision, so the time when you are confronted with the true situation, you can actually stand from a place of clarity, stand from a place of greater mental discipline, rationality, logic, and of course emotional clarity is also very, very important because it's going to be a very complex decision. So that's why this is actually divine timing, because better agitate you now, better send your mind into total chaos right now when you don't really need it that much, when you don't need that inner peace or mental discipline. Your life doesn't really depend on you right now. So basically, now that you are going to cope with it, process it, apply different psychological mechanisms and tricks to soothe your mind, to give yourself comfort, to understand yourself, to silence your thoughts, your fears, everything that you're anxious about. And by the time you reach a state of peace, by the time that Four of Swords is going to be in upright position, you will know how to make the best choice, the best decision. You are going to see things very clearly, and basically your mind is going to cooperate with you, because right now, even though it is very hard to see it this way, this anxious and overthinking and mentally hyper state is actually revealing very many things to you that you need to take into consideration at that moment when the decision is going to be made. For example, that you cannot cope with very many people being present in your life simultaneously. You don't like 10 million communication in your life, because all of this is sword energy as an air element. It's telling you everything that triggers you, everything that makes you miserable mentally, and you shouldn't really change anything. You just have to acknowledge your weakness, you have to acknowledge your triggers, and just try to avoid them or minimalize them in your life, because it is actually who you are. You are not just virtues, you're also weaknesses and imperfections. And basically, for you to make that future decision, you will have to know your triggers more than ever, because it will be part of the big picture. This is just an example. Maybe if an opportunity arises in your life for greater prosperity or whatever, a new work, a new project, but if you see that that project will involve you communicating non-stop 24/7, well, this is what you need to decline it, because regardless of how great the advantages are gonna be, well, you're not gonna step into your personal dimension of hell for any advantage. So that is why your mind is so anxious right now, is to warn you of what your weakness is, what your weak points are, so you know how to make a very safe and sound decision for yourself when that moment comes in the future. Now the other situation is very similar, just that you might be, the Eight of Swords, a seer, someone who uses divination, or someone who has an Aquarian type of mind, where you just anticipate or feel through or calculate the future with great ease. So either way, you're either a seer or for example, a fortune teller, a card reader, an oracle, a psychic, etc. And you might be experiencing a very mysterious and unusual mental anxiety when your thoughts are just a big chaos, when vision comes to you, but it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So either you're stressed out because your thoughts are out of control, or because you cannot understand the downloads or whatever is going on in your mind. But for you, the situation is much simpler. The universe is saying that you just have to live with this in the present moment, because karmically in the world, in the universe, in the cosmos basically, big energy shifts are taking place. Reality is shifting, reality is splitting apart into more timelines, more, versions of the story, quantum entanglement basically. So, of course, this is having a very strong side effect on you. So, just know that when such a moment is taking place in reality, well, you cannot expect yourself to sail through it in peace and serenity and perfect harmony, because when the future is changing, when the future is splitting into more versions of itself, well, of course you're going to perceive it in a very violent and distressful manner. So just be patient with yourself, don't panic, don't worry, know that this has nothing to do with you personally. It's basically your reaction to whatever is going to come in the world. Moving on to the next message. Now, this is absolutely beautiful. It is the Nine of Cups clarified by the Knight of Chalices. So, this might go out for someone who made a decision what to do with their spiritual gifts, and they either chose to become a healer, as in an alternative healer naturally through spirituality or energy, through something like this, or it could be a psychologist, someone who found the determination within them to study psychology and to combine it with their spiritual gifts to help other people and the collective. They made it an active part of their spiritual journeys. Or it could be someone who might have made the decision to do something similar to this. For example, coaching, to become a trainer, to become, for example, a spiritual guide, or even something much more palpable like a social assistant, like a carer, or anything that has to do with caring for others, healing others, helping others, advising others, making other people comfortable. But they are actually at the beginning of their journeys, so they haven't made like mountains of progress yet, because this is something that might have only entered their sphere of awareness the past 9 months or a year or 2 years maximum. So they don't have like an infinite reservoir experience. So they might have moments of doubt, moments when they try their very, very best, but they don't feel that they actually helped the person or the client, the customer or whatever, as much as they wanted to. So the universe is telling them that you're doing more than an amazing job. So don't even consider stopping. You are on the right path. You're doing an excellent job. You're healing yourself by healing others. As in, whatever you're doing for others is coming back to you much more intensely than even what you give out. And other people are absolutely, those who you work with or those who you intend to work with are very receptive. So you're not going to be disappointed for this decision that you have made, for the path that you have chosen for yourself. But in a very short time, you're going to receive a lot of positive feedback. So stay confident, stay blessed on your journey. You're doing more than a good job, and the rewards, especially the emotional rewards, are definitely coming. And to add to this, the universe actually encourages you to take that course, go and study, as in the universe will definitely take care of your intuition and your inner world. So it is definitely gonna teach you from within what you need to do and how, and your own unique personal methodology, your own healing ways. But at the same time, it also encourages you to do a little bit of study, maybe self-study. It doesn't have to be anything official, but if you can do take that course, read that book, read that psychology treatise, observe other healers and other people who embody your own archetype, how they do their work. So learn from every direction that you can. and also learn from within. But that is something that the universe promises you that it's gonna always provide. So whenever there is no solution outside, well, the solution is guaranteed 1,000,000% inside. Even if you don't know it yet, the universe is definitely gonna guide you, steer you in any way, shape, or form necessary. So whenever you encounter a problem that it's not in your experience, or you simply don't know, well, count on the universe 100% because it's gonna be there for you. So keep on doing what you're doing. You are on the right path. You're doing wonderful. So this is just a thumbs up from the universe that it's more than proud of what you have done so far, and you have everything in front of you. So by all means, keep on walking this path. Now, last but not least, we have a final message, which is the 7 of coins, and clarified by the 10 of coins reversed and the death card. Now, this might go out for someone out there who is a very, very experienced spiritualist, who is an ancient soul. But you know, all this coins energy, their material lives have come to a standstill. They have come to a pivotal moment when they simply cannot share their spirituality, their strength, their love, you know, everything that a spiritualist does, regardless of if it's anything professional or just out of charity or whatever shape or form. Because even those people who don't do it for a living and are just holding a spiritual lifestyle, well, you know, other people around them, friends, family, or someone out of the local community, a neighbor, other people always benefit from this. So, you know, even though for those spiritualists who don't do this for a living, everyone's pretty much in the same boat, because you can be a spiritualist and other people not benefit from this, except if you live the lifestyle of a hermit who is in total isolation, which I very much doubt that this message goes out for, because that person would not have an internet connection. So basically, you are at a big pivotal moment of your journey when your material situation is simply clear as daylight. It cannot allow you to continue this anymore. So you have absolutely no other choice than to surrender, than to stop. Either because you know, your physical body, your well-being is in danger. For example, you can have all the spiritual power in the world, but you still need food in your belly. Or you can be infinitely powerful and possess all the secrets of the 7 heavens or whatever, because if you have a family, a child or a partner, parents, etc., well, you still need to be there for them. You're not gonna sacrifice your family for anything in the world. So the 7 of coins in your case represents a very negative type of harvest, if this makes sense, because in not a very distant past, you had to sacrifice your material situation or an income or a property, a house, or something really, really valuable for your spirituality, maybe your freedom, maybe you were in a very tough spiritual situation and you had to rediscover yourself, rediscover your faith, you know, upgrade yourself, upgrade your inner world, align with your most authentic self, because even if you're an ancient soul, and you definitely are, well, you know, just like a tarantula or certain animals in nature shed their skin periodically, well, it doesn't matter who you are inside, you still have to shed off your old layers, because life is evolution, life is a constant flow, life is change, everything in the universe is change. So you're not immune to that. But the problem is, your last shedding of your skin, so to speak, really took a heavy toll materially, and you didn't regret it, you had absolutely no problem. But since the situation didn't balance out at all, despite all of your effort, well, you're in a situation right now where you are truly considering that maybe this is the true guidance of the universe for you to just stop and, take care of yourself, take care of your life, take care of your finances, take care of your material life. Because if your physical body passes over because you decided not to take care of yourself, not to be the emperor, the Saturn of your own existence, well, that is not a very positive karma, is it? And martyrdom, well, it's very susceptible. No one says it's something positive. No one actually says it's the path towards light and enlightenment. Quite the contrary. That is, yes, it's a sacrifice, but it's a massive step backwards. That is why the sacrifice, when you choose to become a martyr or a victim, well, it is noble, but if you're thinking that you're gonna be compensated for it when you leave your body, when you become just a spirit, well, no, because you chose to hurt and harm yourself, so it's a step backwards. That is actually why it's such a huge sacrifice, and not everyone can do that, and not everyone should do that. But here comes the death card reversed, and the death card in upright position usually represents transformation, as in something disappearing and something else taking its place, elimination, closure, the symbolism of death. But when it's reversed, it can actually represent resurrection. It can represent the power of Pluto intervening in your life. So the universe is definitely trying to give back everything that you lost, everything that you have sacrificed. It's trying to somehow help your situation in the most ideal ways possible. But you might have to work on your base chakra a little bit, because your frequencies might be so very high that material goods or the energy of money struggles to reach you. It kind of passes through you as if you were thin air. You don't have sufficient earth energy, the earth element embodied within you. So, maybe the flow is actually there as an energy, but if you need to also be a recipient, to receive the flow, to harvest the flow, so that the flow can actually enter your life and stay there. Because, it's not true that you didn't harvest anything. You harvested a lot of love energy, for example, appreciation, honors, whatever. But, there's nothing you can palpably do with that. So you need to somehow make your earthly self, your human self, maybe your base chakra, much more magnetic, so that the frequency can enter your life as money, as resources, or at least a person who can take care of you. But either way, even if you cannot do that, it is no problem at all, because the universe is working very hard on it, and you know that it will find a way. It will find a solution, and it will definitely exceed your expectation, because this is the big point here. So if you're simply totally disconnected from the earth element, from your earthly self, it's no problem at all. You don't have to worry, you don't have to panic. It's absolutely fine if you're unable to, embody the earthly vibration, because the universe is still working on it, and it is still helping you. It will still prevent that situation where you have to stop. And also, you might have given a deadline to the universe that if nothing happens until this date, for example, you have to do what you have to do, and you ask for the understanding of the universe, the divine, all your guides, etc. And the universe actually has noted that, and it's trying its very, very hardest to match that deadline with as much precision as it's possible. So please, even if nothing happens until the date specified by you, just give or take 7 days. And until that moment comes, you can use your alchemy to somehow try and transmute the excess of spirit in your life into maybe material help or some kind of material transaction or flow, and that can keep you going until your moment arrives. Well, thank you so much for listening. Wish everyone a blessed and safe day. Please stay safe and bye for now.